to this month's Roundtable, your all-in-one comprehensive view of what's happening across the real estate industry, straight from some of the industry's earliest technology adopters and foremost experts in technology, marketing, brokerage, government policy, capital construction, and cybersecurity. As always, this is a three-part show. Part one, introductions and what's new for each of our Roundtable hosts in their business sector. Part two, sector focus. We'll unpack the biggest month's news and paradigm shifts impacting your business. Still on New Year's from last night. Bear with me. Part three, what does it all mean for your business? How do you outpace your competition and continue to grow? I'm Andreas Senie, founder of CRECollaborative, brokerage owner, and technology growth strategist for both the nonprofit and for-profit sectors. And joining me this month is none other than Rebekah Carlson, founder and CEO, Carlson Integrated, past president of Nightcar, brokerage owner, syndication raiser, all things to all people. Becca, awesome to have you back in 2026.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. That's right. It's our 101st episode, 6,100 tune-ins and downloads monthly. We're kicking, I don't know, I can curse, we're not on TV. I won't curse. We are doing incredibly well. And back with us again, none other than Chris Abel, Vice President, Associated Builders and Contractors of Connecticut, board member of SMPS, which is the Society for Marketing Professional Services. That is a lot. That is to say, we've got marketing, we've got construction, we've got brokerage. And Chris, you're actually to my right tonight. So what's the latest and greatest in your side of the world?
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. It's good to be back. Excited to be back. Looking forward to 2026. Latest and greatest is basically everything going on in 2026 in the construction industry and what to expect. There's a lot to unpack there, so we'll talk about it as the show kind of goes on. But other than that, it's just kind of looking out, seeing how many people I could help out for 2026, and gonna hopefully start with myself a little bit, get myself back in the loop with a few things that I've been kind of trying to do last year, and it pushes into the next year. Everyone gets very excited about the new year. And I totally get that. And I love it. But at the same time, it's like, it's a day into another day. There's just a digit at the end of that year that changes. Nothing magical is going to happen. I think we all learned that probably by the time we were in our early to mid 20s, that New Year's Eve to New Year's Day doesn't change a whole heck of a lot unless we decide to do it. So,
well, avoid big, I'm going to do X. Go with small bites, and that's the way to work it. I'll have this question for you, Chris. What's the biggest lesson you learned in 2025?
Biggest lesson learned in 2025 was not to try to predict the unpredictable. All right. It's kind of a wide open thing, but I see a lot of people in my industry trying to do that repeatedly, and it hurt their businesses. And a lot of the ones who were just prepared rather than try to predict and come up with something that wasn't actually a reality, those were the ones that kind of, were able to strive and get their projects done and get them done as close to the time as possible and all that type of stuff. So just trying to lay in the pocket, find the pocket, lay in my pocket, and kind of find my strategic lane like I always like to do, figure out what the goal is, and then just make adjustments slowly and methodically, as opposed to trying to predict exactly what is going to happen the whole year. Just focusing on that end of the year goal or end of the month goal or end of the week goal.
So it's a lot easier intentional instead of reacting day to day.
Yeah. I saw a quote, some sort of quote. What was it yesterday? I'm going to see if I can pull it up. And I really, it was something that I really liked. I will find it by the time this show is over. It's about being ready, but I will find it. And it really kind of hit home as to, here it is. Ready is not a feeling. Ready is a decision.
Love it.
And I very seldom save quotes anymore, because I would fill every possible
book.
Ready not being a feeling, but a decision is kind of what I'm gearing towards.
I love it. All right. Rebekah, biggest lesson learned in 2025, and what's the latest and greatest as you head into 2026? Happy New Year.
Thanks for starting with like some nice softballs like this.
Easy.
So when I think about kind of that greatest lesson learned in 2025 versus, prior years, and I think that there have been a handful of them that have come through from a tactical standpoint. It's that importance of stickiness and relationship in driving revenue. And I think all of us as business owners and business professionals sometimes take a little bit of a short sight for that. We feel like things are transactional, so we assume they really are transactional. I don't think that may actually be the case. People still do business with people they know, like, and trust. And we had a little attrition at the beginning of last year. And so when I think about how real relationships that are cultivated when you're not looking at working with clients as a commodity, but you're looking at it as an advisory and something that goes a lot deeper, that tends to be more sticky and it's more real and more authentic. And so as I have carefully analyzed, actually, that's what I do at the end of the year, by the way, is I run tons of numbers and tons of scenarios, and I reflect literally on every single client relationship that we've had. It's how we can build better going from 25 to 26 to really cultivate those relationships and really pour into them with more intentionality than just a transaction. And, I think, Andreas, in your business, you see that all the time because you have repeat customers, right? You have clients that come back because of the experience they had with you even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
I try to make sure we do multiple deals every year, on and on, right? Repeat, reputation, and referral. It's the lifeblood of a commercial broker. Just the other day, Jerry on my team was talking about, we need to focus on repeats. We need to focus programmatically on what we're doing. Wait, that's what we have been doing, and it worked. So I will take that moment to say the 2025 lesson I had for my fellow brokers is I was in and out of those luncheons all year, and off and on, some of them were just kind of drop off. They didn't have things closing. They didn't have transactions. And the consistent, or rather the thing we did differently, is we kept our head down and we ignored the news and we ignored the world is falling or the economy is crashing. And we just chipped away on our programmatic outreach and repeat reputation referrals. And it worked. We continued to grow. So deepening relationships, which is basically what we've now both said. Let's focus, let's be intentional, and let's go deeper. As far as 2026, I do have to give a statement for Dan Wagner. Couldn't make it tonight. Inland is beyond excited for their new institutional platform, and we cannot wait to have their new president for that group come on and talk on a sector interview. As far as pathways to profitability, I mean, it's simple, guys. Hit ones, twos, and threes. Every client has the opportunity to do multiple business. And to Becca's point, I don't look at every client like, hey, where's my transaction? It's how can I bring you value? And then transactions arise over time. But Chris, you mentioned something about everyone gearing up on the construction side. Are projects up? Are projects down? Are people fearful? If you stop building it, I can't sell it. So no. Before I touch on that one, another part of that, building those relationships, especially in my side of things, I mean, it's all based off. All of our businesses are based off of retention, referral, but my direct numbers are retention based. People can't be afraid to go back, and I see this in my space a lot where it's like, okay, a company drops or a member doesn't get involved and they drop or whatever the case is. You can't be afraid to kind of eat crow and go, you know what? I need to go back and communicate with that person and actually, like, not just let them go. Not saying you're going to get them back immediately, but there's kind of a relentless method, but being relaxed also. And just kind of letting them know, like, hey, listen, because I know, like, last year, one of my things last year, even though I had great retention,
I'm looking at this year's retention. I'm looking at how people are looking at their money and all that sort of stuff. And I know I was caught up in a lot of different things last year that I normally were not caught up in, and it might affect some of my retention this year. And the last thing you want is for your personal reputation to get involved where people are going, oh man, like I heard all these things, I jumped on board, I got involved, and then it didn't seem to be all it was cracked up to be. And a lot of people are very easy to just kind of let that go and go, you know what, part of business, or come up with some excuse as to why something happened, and not go back and kind of chat with those people and keep those relationships going to come find them, because you never know where those people are going to go. Also, one of my favorite things, every Monday I usually spend about 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes a little longer, flipping through LinkedIn to see the job changes. It's just something that I would say since 2022, you almost have to, because there's so many, job changes going on, attrition, all sorts of stuff. I put aside 90 minutes for Monday and another half hour for Tuesday, just in case I get taken away for 90 minutes. The chance of me sitting there for 90 minutes going through LinkedIn, because every year I look forward to that bittersweet part of going through LinkedIn and seeing everyone do their job announcements and all those job announcements that come at the beginning of the year, because it's either, it's usually congratulations. Sometimes it ends up being a situation where I go, all right, this is an opportunity for me to build more contacts. If my main point of contact for a company leaves, I have an opportunity to double down and keep working with the person that I liked working with and keep supporting them, even if they're not in my industry. Say, hey, I'm still here. You let me know, congratulations. But also realize there's a membership floating out there that company may not even know really anything about. And if they just get an invoice for renewal, or they just sit there and see an accounts payable, say, what is this? You may not be able to get them back, but that's your opportunity to I look at it as an opportunity to build your own personal network again. So you can go in and go, you know what, let me find 3 or 4 more people at that company. So this doesn't,
we
that
teach
stickiness is huge.
I like the term stickiness. I mean, you buy it, just because someone moves doesn't mean you lose the account. Matter of fact, now there may be a 2. It's what you're saying. And reality is most people try to stick to a similar vertical. Yep. So now you'll have 2 other accounts to go after. And why not, right? All you have to do is stay in touch, deepening relationships. To Jonathan Stein, he was incredible at this, right? Network is net worth. Mark, and I'll give a shout out to Marcus Heflin, who's a Bold coach. The other day, he was talking about core memories and just spending a minute reaching out and saying, hey, remember when? Yeah. Of you. For people you haven't talked to in a long time. Yeah. And how incredibly valuable it is.
And around the holidays is when you end up bumping into somebody. You talk about those core memories, or you talk about those, you end up bumping into somebody that or hearing about someone from another friend, or about, oh, remember so-and-so, we went to high school, whatever. It's around the holidays that you seem to hear about those types of things. I was selling something on Marketplace, and I went and I said, meet me at this coffee shop, we'll take care of it. And because I want to grab a coffee anyway. And sure enough, the guy ends up being basically one of my brother's really close friends. And he had no idea. I had no idea. And then we exchanged names, and it's like, this is a guy, he probably saw me when I was in like 1st and 2nd grade, and they were in, 4th or 5th grade, whatever, literally. But you never know where things are really going to cross over. And the holidays are always a time where you end up, inevitably, somebody's going to say a name, or you're going to say a name, and somebody's going to go, oh, that's so-and-so. And you kind of go, oh, wow, didn't think those lines would cross. And it's just another reason to be good to people all the time too.
It's an easy way to pick up a conversation, right? So especially with commercial brokers, we have name tags, we have pins in this world. Yeah. I know Becca on the marketing side, she's like, oh yeah. And we have branded hats and vests and all of the things. Yeah. But clients come from everywhere, right?
Yeah.
At least especially in the brokerage business. And if not a client, maybe a partner or an advisor or a something, right? By the way, Becca, I did not get my Christmas gift this year. I'm just throwing that out there from Carlson. Just kidding. I did get it.
What a terrible thing to say.
No, the reason I wanted to bring that up is Becca's company, and Becca is incredible at doing just that, right? Following up on the holidays. Every year I get something from her company, and I get a heartfelt message with that something. It doesn't feel transactional. It hopefully isn't transactional.
It's not.
You want to know about construction? Should we actually talk construction a little?
Let's go.
All right. So there's.
And with the happy face, we got to get.
Yeah, no. Listen, I have a feeling next month is going to be when, and I'm not, and trust me, I have some answers, but or some opinions on stuff. Next month, I'm probably going to have a better idea what people are actually looking at, just because of, again, the way things landed were a little bit strange. But I did have the opportunity before everyone went on break. I think it was the 17th, December 17th. They had the New England Construction Summit. CBIZ did their New England Construction Summit in New Haven. I know, Andreas, you've been there before. It was formerly a Markham Construction Summit. And they have a great economist over there, Honorban, speaks all the time. And I didn't get to catch up with him there, but just chatting with different people there. In about a month, I'm probably going to have a pretty good idea of what people's 2026 backlogs really, really did look like coming into this year. Everyone was trying to hammer through a couple different jobs towards the end of the year. And I started to hear rumblings of backlogs not being as full for 2026 as they were for 2025, which I kind of saw that coming. And I kind of had, those were mostly your specialty contractors, mainly because the GC jobs weren't getting lifted off yet. So it starts at one level with the GCs, and then you have your subcontractors. There's also some owner accountability when it comes to the subcontractors to make sure that their estimators are not just kind of saying, hey, we had a great year this year. We're doing really well. We just can't do this or just can't do that. They really got to start digging in and seeing why they're not winning bids. Because if somebody in one trade is saying they have a strong backlog, but three other people in the same trade are saying that their backlog is not strong enough, they really do need to look back and see, well, why are we missing? Why are we losing these bids? Why are we getting outbid?
Not just outbid or underbid. There are bids, right? Public and infrastructure work. There's work out there. So why are you losing it? It's not bid.
No, you might have to shift to public a little bit more.
Which reminds me, Becca, who won Woman-Owned Business Award last year, right? Did it officially. That was a 2025 moment. And speaking of another 2025 moment, Chris, retention 95% year on year. So
95.
Not for nothing. What we're saying does matter, deepening these relationships.
Yeah.
As far as the numbers that I read on construction, while 2023, 2024, a lot going on, especially residentially. 2025, a bit of a slowdown. 2026, yes, costs are higher, but things are moving, right? We still have the largest shift of generational wealth occurring, and that can't stop. It's just going to happen, right? Owners are going to be selling because they need to set their legacy real estate up for the next generation. So last numbers I saw there, outsized growth, non-residential spending rising 1.7 to 2% in 2025, which 7% increase outlook on spend, non-residential, which I'm really focusing on. So we're talking about commercial and industrial only. Not to mention AI needs a lot of public facilities, right? A lot of infrastructure. Our grids can't handle it. So there's plenty of outlets to make money. Excited to now have you on next month to hear exactly where your group is making the most and where they're busy. Becca, how about the marketing sector and the capital?
In the commercial real estate investment sector, we've had a lot of clients that are ending the year raising significant capital investment funds that are, raising this capital in funds that they are deploying in 2026. So part of that first part of the year will be finalizing those capital raises, and the rest of the year will be deploying that capital. And we're seeing that from clients who are looking at national deployments of capital in the commercial real estate investment arena. We were very pleasantly optimistic looking at this last quarter of 2025 in just the sheer number of clients that have come to us to build out those investment materials so that they can move forward with the next stages of their growth. And transactions are happening. Transactions are occurring, have occurred over the past quarter, and will continue to occur in 2026. And very, very clear, well outlined plan for deployment of the capital. And again, we've seen this with multiple clients. So with fully national plans for acquisitions and for investing in all product type, by the way. So it's not just retail, it's not just office, it's not just residential or multifamily. It's not just industrial, it's not just data centers. So we're seeing it in all product types that investors, they started off 2025 sitting on the sidelines a lot, and that capital needs to go to work.
Yes, 100%.
So they have, right? They want to. They're so excited going into 2026. Everyone's really excited about investment.
Well, you said sheer volume of clients, right? Looking to raise. Are these all existing clients, repeats, or are these new funds? It's both.
We have both.
So the industry's moving. So roughly, Cushman Wakefield put out a study, 15 to 20% higher global sales volume for 2026 is predicted as prices stabilize, right? You talked about all asset classes: data centers, senior housing, industrial, multifamily is always a good standby, although not where I like to play, and mixed use, right? And as far as offices, prime class A offices, at least here in the Northeast. Otherwise, it's converting it to something else. It's certainly busy.
But there's capital available to start those, to really dig into those conversion opportunities.
Which is exciting.
Right? Pricing's nice and low, right? Like buy low, sell high, buy low.
Date the rate, right? Get the property, date the rate. You can always finance out. So you're out there, you're putting packages together, you have all these clients ready to raise, or rather they have raised and now they're deploying. Where are they deploying? Nationwide, Connecticut?
Nationwide. I know I have some introductions for you guys to make in Connecticut because I have a number of colleagues that have articulated how excited they are. And I don't know if you're seeing it, but certainly there's some colleagues I have in New York that are excited to be expanding into neighborhoods.
Everybody's fleeing New York. You can say it. They're all coming to Connecticut.
I was trying to be diplomatic, Andreas.
Well, I'm from New York, so I can say that. New York was always going to be best, but living in Connecticut's pretty wonderful. And there are pockets of profitability everywhere, right? You just have to drill down and uncover them, and that's why brokers are here. That's what we do. It's why the top 5 institutions in the country use brokers. That all being said, the rest of them are not the top 5. What can I say? Chris, outside of the construction industry, you're also on the marketing side. You're on the marketing board, as is backup. Any changes? What's the advice you can give to the audience as far as marketing as we now start 2026?
Well, my end, I mean, I am always learning marketing. That's pretty much my whole thing. Is like I'm always learning as I'm kind of going along. It's mostly grassroots stuff that I deal with, and just making sure that my contact with my members and my touches with my members, and again, commending Becca on there. Every year I get the email, greeting card digitally, greeting card physically. What are we looking at? Those they become something that you expect to see, and when you're actually doing that consistently year over year, it changes things. So I'm trying to put some of my little tricks together in regards to helping market towards my members to make sure they understand, hey, you're not just a check or a credit card. We're still here. We're here to help you, and getting to understand why people should hang on to trade association memberships when they're not completely sure. And it might just be one example or one small thing, taking those small things, taking those examples and utilizing them in the marketing for the association, which is something that at the national level, ABC, I see it a lot, but at our level, we're just now kind of breaching into that. We are in our 50th year this year, so we're going to piggyback on that at ABC Connecticut. Nationals just wrapped up their 75th anniversary. So I think we're going to steal a few things, cross them over, and we just want to get people. Construction is exciting, and construction, the industry has a lot going on, but to the average outside person, when they're driving and they see construction and it's causing traffic, it's not exciting. It's the opposite. And I drive by and I'm like, I don't like seeing in traffic. I can't stand it, but I love to see my members' logos, the porta potty, the construction trailer, the Milwaukee tools, the DeWalt tools, the subcontractors, everything is, our members. So trying to take those situations that I see and those situations that I'm in and using that and pushing that towards more testimonials and marketing material that directly shows what's actually going on and what people are actually paying for. And then I'm watching our members and how they're handling their marketing. And again, it'll be interesting to see, but a lot of them are starting to get into the idea of, listen, we can't just look a certain way now. We can't just kind of go, hey, we do this work and that's fine. We need to make sure that we look the part now, because people are actually paying attention to this more than ever. So the civil contractors that normally don't have any sort of websites or any sort of social media presence are starting to post over the last 8 months. I think I mentioned this about 6 months ago, starting to post more and starting to get in front of the camera and kind of explain what's going on. And the contractors that will do that, making sure they're doing things safely and things are caught on camera that are being done safely, actually will increase their chance of getting onto, certain bid lists and into certain situations that they may never have noticed before, because they just thought, okay, here's where my bread is buttered. It's going to continue to get buttered that way. It's going to move forward. And then all of a sudden they lose a job or two. And then they go, all right, well, maybe we're doing something different. And in most cases, I'm seeing a younger BD or marketing person kind of going in and trying as hard as they can to go, come on, let's try one thing different. And if it works, we can go from there. And if it doesn't work, they never say that part. So
then they just aren't there anymore, right? And
yeah, unfortunately, I've seen that several times. But then Becca may get a call or some, that's when they may go from the employee versus the agency. So
you should always hire a specialist, right? A brokerage, by definition, is a specialist to help assist marketing. Feel the same way, and construction, not just your signs, right? When I need something or my team needs something, I call you for the top guy.
Yeah,
your network is your net worth, and I'll reach out to whatever association or whichever leader can help connect me to the right people at the end of the day. Because yes, marketing is great, but I'm not going to trust my client to a great at. I need more than just pop up on Facebook. Although I will admit, we did sell a property on Facebook Marketplace. It was an industrial condo, $300,000.
Nice.
Not bad, but you wouldn't believe it. And we put it there because I have marketing people that tell me to do that, Becca and others. Be where your audience is. And I want to thank Becca for getting me on AI as far as marketing, because we're being found there now too. So now we've said too many nice things about you, Becca. Time for you to talk about the rest of us.
It was fun as Chris, as you were mentioning around you're learning marketing. I think all of us are learning marketing all of the time. I tell my team regularly that when we embraced careers in marketing, we embrace change, because it's constantly evolving. And it's, to me, the most exciting and frustrating career paths known to humankind, because it is a constant change. It's constantly staying up with what methodologies and tactics and tools while simultaneously the requirement of understanding how your audience is changing and growing as well. So you're seeing change from on all sides of it. And I think that going into this coming year, and one of the lessons from the prior year in marketing specifically is around that AI and authenticity dance. And I call it a dance because it's not like there are no rules and there are not a lot of guardrails around it, but you using AI for being very, very efficient while recognizing that you still need to somehow get your authentic voice to come through, because a lot of AI generated content is clearly AI generated content, and younger generations have started blocking AI generated content on various platforms, which is hilarious to me. If you talk to Gen Zers, that's a very normal method of operation for them. If they see something as AI generated content, they actually block it intentionally.
Is there a way to do that globally, or do I got to do it one by one?
I think
I'm just curious.
That's a very good question. I'm going to have to ask some.
You're going to take it and come back next month.
Right. Yeah. I'll come back. But anything that they identify, they block. If they see something that they thought was funny on TikTok, but then they look at that profile and it's all AI generated content, they'll block it.
Well, because it could be fake, or most likely is completely fake, not just the video. And this is to John Riley. He sent me an article the other day, and it spoke about the term humaneering, which is not a new term. We're just recoining it for another use. And it's the spark between people that AI cannot replicate, right? And yeah, when I get AI and I see AI or something goes into my feed, and I'm like, oh, how wonderful that is. It's my Havanese, right? Or a Havanese. I go, wait, it's fake.
But even from a messaging standpoint, if I see content that is clearly, there's like an emoji at the beginning of every line. I think we all know most people don't actually put emojis at the beginning of every line when they're authoring something. We know it's AI, or the long M dashes, right? Like AI has some little tells associated with the content. And so as we get wiser as consumers of content, are we more likely to automatically discredit something that we see as AI generated?
Yes. For me, I'm speaking for myself, right? If it's AI generated online, I don't really want to see it. I want real interactions and real stories and real connection with my clients, prospects, friends, and family.
Right. Well, so how do we embrace AI wholeheartedly from an operational and from a process standpoint and from an efficiency standpoint while maintaining our authentic voice as brands and as companies and as businesses and business professionals? So this is the dance that I think is really going to continue and may even heat up a little bit here in 2026 as people really start to identify where they stand and where they're going to kind of place their point in what is really a spectrum.
Right. Well, so we were at CRETech together in the last year, and we'll be again this year in New York. CRETech is the
with
largest.
Chris this year.
What's the date in Town, right?
I will get to the date.
Coming this year.
Available.
I'm just going to show up during that month and hope.
And AI was everywhere, right? And not only is AI everywhere, now I'm on my third round of teaching CE classes on AI. And it's amazing how many people are trying to use it, how flowery it can be. So thank you, Becca, for giving me some guardrails early that we implemented to sound like us, right? And basic rules. And I saw just the other day, Microsoft Copilot had an ad about, and it's not commercial, but it's, hey, does my Rudolph work within my HOA guidelines, right? That's a way to use AI. The grunt work is a way to use AI. And I admittedly have AI on the top of our business and at every level. It sits beside us in meetings. It helps us with our phones. It helps us with our emails. But I still today, and my AI is well trained or better trained than most, it's a day one intern. You have to check it. I would not just let it write for me. It's just not there. And construction's lucky. I think from an AI standpoint, you guys are the least impacted, at least on the ground.
The biggest thing, the trend for 2026, obviously, is the continued rise of AI everywhere, but in the industry, that's a huge, probably top 3 or 4 topic for the construction industry. I know a couple months ago I mentioned, you mentioned using it, but letting your voice and your voice as a company come through. That is something that I could see in the construction industry continue to heat up, because there are a lot of people that are in these offices that are using AI to put together their proposals, put together their wording, and it's making it so when bids get open and bids are being looked over, a lot of stuff is starting to look similar. Very similar, which in most cases, that's usually a good thing when it comes to bidding, because if things kind of line up and the bids are somewhat competitive, there's least of a chance that maybe one of the GCs there miss something that, because that always happens. Oh, how did this person end up, $50,000 less than everyone else? What happened here? What did they miss, or what did we miss? But now you add in the factor of AI using the same wording and the same, you working with us, you're going to be working with a team of blah, 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 blah. And then you open up a next bid and it says, working with us. It's very similar. It's like, all right, well, a lot of the owners want to have that. I want to like who I'm working with. Like you said, I want to trust who I'm working with. I want to, and a lot of these people are just going in, they're going, okay, well, it's like, quite frankly, like resumes. If you get resumes now and you start looking at them, the average resume from like a 24 or 25-year-old, I would say, and I'm being very general with age on that, they're going to have the same buzzwords and the same, no different than when we were all taught how to write resumes and things like that. But this is like, it's, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, and it's pumping out a resume. It's not getting rechecked, like you said, a day one intern. And, you get 12 resumes for a position, and you're like, all right, well, 8 of them are the same, and 4 of them are complete garbage that, I don't know if this person can use it.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's, and at this point, people know that resumes are going through scanners a lot of times, so they want to make sure that you can go on and go use AI to say, hey, what are the best words to use? I mean, so it's become very interesting. I would say the best thing as far as the industry goes using AI for construction are the ones that are really focused on using it towards efficiency and safety. Well, those are probably the 2 key ones that you want to get away from predicting the unpredictable. Use it, get best using it where you feel most comfortable, and then knowing that it exists and it's going to continue to exist and rise in every other factor that is part of your company or your industry.
Well, I mean, you're bringing up great points, right? At least for me, and the light bulbs are going off because I did a lot of RFPs in the last 2 years, and I did not use AI, and it was a lot of work.
A lot of work, yeah.
And a lot of that work could have been reduced, right? I could have simply used, in theory, I could take my old RFPs and pump them in and say, take this, combine it with this new RFP requirement, and print it out and see what happens. And I hesitate to do that, but I'll let you know how that works out on the next one.
Yeah.
More importantly, you touched on a different subject, which is AI is leveling the playing field for a lot of people, not just big companies and like the giant marketing companies. I realized watching TV and all the commercials are all a bit better. Quality's better. They're just more creative. And I sat back and went, you know what? The ideas are now there, and the ability to execute on an idea is now more powerful. So at a lower budget, you still have to have the ideas. But specific to construction, when I get bids on the properties we manage, I get 4 different bids in 4 different formats and 4 different styles. I would love every one of those contractors to run that through and give me that same scope of work, so nothing gets missed.
Yeah.
Interesting to continue on. But go ahead.
Some of the, as far as evening the playing field too, some of the smaller contractors that are still working in the field while working on their business, it does even things out a little bit and speeds it up for them, though. It does give them an opportunity to maybe put together, because, I can't even tell you how many times I've had smaller, and I'm talking more about subs at this point, but smaller subcontractors go, I wanted to do this, I wanted to get in this, but this came up or that came up, or, and they miss a deadline, and they have no intention of missing a deadline. They get caught up in, they all tie together, the labor shortage. Labor shortages are still defining every project timeline, which they always have, but really, like, it used to be like, let's go knock out a couple small projects while we still have a few people working on the big one. Then we'll put everyone on the big one, and then now it's like, where do we go? Whose bread do we need to butter? Whose relationship do we need to keep the tightest? Who's going to give us the next big project that's going to keep our lights on? So you do see some of these smaller subcontractors that are actually able to play the game a little more and actually get some more bids in. And maybe they get 2 or 3 more bids in on a Friday afternoon because they dug into a little bit of an AI bag and someone said, hey, listen, I really do want you to bid on this. Are you going to be able to take care of it? And they go, you know what? I'm going to stay up a couple extra hours. I'm going to use Copilot. I'm going to use whatever I need to use. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get my numbers together. I'm going to and that might be the one job that keeps that backlog, full, or keeps people working. Like I said, I find construction exciting, and this is one of the things that gets me, I'm glad I'm on my end of it as opposed to actually, building or doing BD for a construction company. I'm just being very truthful on that, but it is exciting. I mean, there is excitement to winning bids, and there is disappointment to losing bids, and there's excitement to finding that news out either way,
Speaking for my company, first time at bat, we were shortlisted. We went 15. We did 15 of them. We were shortlisted for 12. It was exciting. Killed my conversion rate, but we'll be better next time at bat, right? And that all is exciting. And you're right. Can I do more now today with less time? 100%. AI does that for me all day, every day. You said something about putting it in anywhere, so I'm just going to give a public warning, or just for what it's worth. As an example, I had an owner take on financial information from a prospective tenant to review it. That prospective tenant sent it direct to the owner because they were worried about too many eyes on it. And my owner subsequently dropped it into ChatGPT as is, all together. So this is a reminder to our audience globally: do not publicly source the information you share. You should be redacting, right? If you wouldn't share it, if you don't want a stranger to see something like a name or financial or account numbers, you've got to strip those out.
Yep.
And you mentioned Copilot first, which I love. That's what we use. Copilot is fantastic. So for all the brokers out there and across the industry, really. Rebekah, here we are at 6:45, third part of the show. A lot of AI talk, a lot of marketing talk, a lot of business. What is the advice you can give our audience as we move forward into 2026?
I will say that one of the later elements that I have been striving to embrace at the end of 2025 and going into 2026 is margin. And one of the reasons for having a little bit of margin is that you can then take advantage of opportunities that come your way. When you are running 24/7, it depletes you, but it also doesn't allow for those chance conversations or for running into somebody at a networking event and being able to schedule a coffee because your schedule is too full. And I tend to run with a pretty full schedule. And so I will say that some advice that I have that I am taking to heart is to put a little bit more margin in there so that you can have a few more conversations that you wouldn't have otherwise had. And it's not this is very heartfelt because it's from my own experience of running myself a little bit too ragged. So that is one that I'm really excited about going into 2026, of how to build in margin and how to build in those time buffers for having more ad hoc and like intentional conversations as follow-ups versus just going on to the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. So I know it's probably not what you were asking.
No. It's great advice, and for those that dare, because I do it, we use Motion AI. Right, Motion sits on top of all my other AI tools, and you're talking about margin, right? And the reason it sits on top of all my other AI tools is no AI tool does everything. Point solutions for AI right now is paramount, but this one specifically reviews my day, reviews my calendar, reviews my work, and it yells at me in just that way. It says, hey, you need to spend more time on XYZ. So for those trying to put more margin or trying to optimize their day, who keep in mind your feelings might get hurt those first few reports, because it's basically a real-time coach all day. And it comes in, it says, hey, you were 73% efficient. You did this, this, and this. You didn't do this, this, and this. So in that regard, yeah. I mean, how do I find more time for those items? And the way I'm finding more time to have those conversations is through AI. I mean, that is truly that's my primary use. It saves time, and it's reminding me of the right things at the right time. Yeah. Chris.
I got a couple things. One of them, at the very top of the show, I mentioned one of the goals was helping as many people as I can, but helping myself first. And that's kind of what I was leaning towards, is what Becca was just saying. I was, like I said, doing so much, but then not, if I'm helping myself, that means I'm leaving some of those open spaces for those coffees with different people, with meaningful conversation. And that's going to end up helping other people and myself together at the same time. And that's kind of what I was leaning towards at the very beginning of the show. So I agree 100% with that. I have a construction-based piece of advice and a personal piece of advice. The personal piece of advice is very simple, but a lot of us don't do it, is, set a personal goal to accomplish within 2026. Really set a personal goal. There's so many times where I may mention something to someone, and then a trusted advisor of mine, a good friend of mine, a family member of mine will go, yeah, well, that's great, but that still has to do with work. I took so many days off in December, but I'm like, I got my day off, but I still got to, they're like, you really don't understand how days off work. And that's the same way a lot of my goals end up swinging into the professional side of things. And sometimes it's just a matter of sitting back and actually setting a personal goal that doesn't, if you set a goal to read X amount of books, okay, but how many of those books are really for your work? You know what I'm saying? Like, set something that's legitimately personal, that you don't have to put out a whole bunch of social about it. You don't have to, just something that exactly is personal and what you want to accomplish. And, so that's one thing. And then for the industry, for some of the owners, some of the brokers, some of the people dealing with real estate in general, is hear out some of the contractors that are dealing with offsite and panelized construction, because that was something that for several years was basically seemed to be kind of trending, but it wasn't really trending. It was more emerging. So a lot of times there's things that are trending and there's things that are emerging. Trends tend to fade off. When something is emerging, it's hidden as a trend, and then it's finally here. I mean, you could look at AI, quite frankly. You could look at the internet. You could look at anything. So listen to conversations when contractors start talking about offsite fabrication, panelization, because a lot of times that may be, a lot of people don't want to hear that. A lot of people want to be like, I want to go to the construction site. If I don't see people working there, I don't see what's going on. I don't think it's really happening. Well, what if for a few days where you don't think anything's going on, there's a company doing prefab steel, full buildings.
Oh, yeah.
And they're in a much safer atmosphere that is controlled by the safety of their own company. And then all of a sudden, the flatbeds start coming in, and they could get that building up faster than you've ever imagined. Not to mention up in Connecticut, and Becky, you're out in Chicago, so we're talking cold weather. They can actually go and they can take care of all this stuff at their fabrication center and then bring it all out and just boom, 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 boom. So that's something for the industry, is the offsite and panelized construction. It's proven to no longer be a trend.
Well, and I love hearing that, right? So there's since 2015, I've had companies come to me pre-cut or something along those lines, and it's always been, at the end of the day, more expensive than sticks and bricks, having guys go out and do it, right? End of last year, we saw 3 different clients switch over to that type of development. It became more cost effective to have it built off site and shipped in, and it is pretty incredible how these things kind of pop together. So that is absolutely great advice. Do you guys have specialists putting those together at ABC?
We have a few. Yeah, we definitely have a few, and then we have more. And then we also have some that are doing stuff like that on the electrical side. So they're just coming out with things that they're prefab. They're doing prefabrication and much more than they used to be, and coming out, and it's a matter of. I make it sound easy by saying plug and play, but it truly is a matter of plug and play at that point. They're coming in, they're not building the box. They're not building these boxes. They're not building these systems, even for HVAC. They're not building them right there on site. They're walking in. It's gotten to a point where there's enough information, enough specs, enough technology where you can actually trust that coming in. It's no different than, you years ago, if you saw kind of a house on wheels on the highway, you know what I mean? Like the big, and you saw it back then. I remember seeing it back, when I was younger, going, that's kind of cool, but like, really? Like, what are they doing with that? How's that? There's an immediate part of that trust of, and it's kind of, I grew up, there was a foundation, there was a house. This is how it works, right? But now things have just changed. That's why you see people. I don't want to go too far off in the deep end, but you see people, doing legitimate tiny homes and doing this and doing that, or living out of like camper. These are different things now. These are not just like, everything's better technology wise and stronger technology wise. That, like, there's a dorm at Quinnipiac University that, the whole dorm was just prefab metal. And I actually got to see the stacks and stacks and stacks of prefab metal once it got done, it got put out, marked up, done. And I'm like, that's wild. That's a dorm right there.
Yeah. No, and look, economically, the cost savings is 8 to 15% on multifamily, and don't quote me specifically. I have to go back to those 3 clients and those 3 sets of numbers, but it's there and it's built, and it just continues to grow. And when we need multifamily, workforce housing, healthcare, there's so many ways to apply it. So I think paying attention is the best advice I've heard on the show, right? Paying attention to prefab. And if prefab is shortening our horizon, our delivery on these projects, that means we can turn our clients over much faster.
It's a labor. It could be a labor help too.
Well, and so speaking of labor, there is prefab as intensive on its demand for labor? Do you need as many skilled workers, or?
It all depends on the project. I think that's more project based than anything. But the thing is this, even on temp, even in bringing in temp labor, depending on what it is, you could probably bring in temp labor and get some really good training. If you're think about like best methods of training, everything has its own way of, but the best way to train somebody is usually to be able to do it in no matter what it is. But if I'm gonna, train you on how to use, I'm looking at a copier at my desk now. If I'm going to train you on how to use the copier, is it going to be easier if we are out out somewhere else? Or is it going to be easier if we are in the space and the copier's right in front of us? So like you can go to a shop, a prefab shop, and it is not going anywhere. The prefab shop is going to be same now as it is a week from now, it is a month from now, where when you get someone out straight up on a job site, you might want to make sure that your best team is putting the prefab stuff together all the time, but you might be able to bring the temp labor inside to actually get some solid training on how to build, how to actually create this stuff. And to be honest with you, if they find interest in it, then you might have yourself your next employee, because it's a different type of job. It's a manufacturing job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then it's a labor job out on the in the fields. And if you find somebody for a temp side or something that hey, I have prefab experience, these companies are going to eat you up immediately. And they, all right, let's talk then.
Absolutely love that. And I'm going to come to you looking for more prefab, because like, as I said, only 3 clients in just this last 12 months were we able to get the costs flipped. It finally became cheaper, and I didn't even think the labor side, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts there, but.
Well, you know, and I'll pivot back to AI briefly. On the prefab and training side, we train by mentoring, right? That's how our brokerage does it. I'm sure that's how Becca did it when she was a broker, and Chris, how you learned, right? And journeyman, I mean, that's mentorship. What excites me, and people have yet to really talk about it on the AI side, and at the same time it's quite terrifying, are the glasses that are recording all day in real time. They have cameras built in, and they're training and teaching. And imagine working 10 different job sites. Hey, did you put in, bolt C in conduit D appropriately, and all of those things? So I think AI will create a lot of efficiency, or at least a trail, a record, something that we can check. And that's exciting on the construction side. Becca, we want to close us out here at 6:57.
So Chris, this is fascinating. I could listen to you talk about this all day. And I think it's because when you talked about trending that becomes emerging, we see that concept that's such a concrete example of a concept that really affects every business, every industry. There are things that trend and that become emerging. And it's exciting to be at a phase in business where we get to look at these things, where we get to watch them. We have a little bit of tenure behind us. So we've been able to watch over, decades at this point in my career of what over time has started as a trend and has become emerging. And I think that we're going to see advances, probably expedited advances, because of the application of AI in multiple industries and in multiple sectors. And it's just tremendously exciting. And I'm very, very bullish about what 2026 has to offer as business professionals around the world. We have so many opportunities to grow and learn and change, and to chase more than a trend, and instead to chase emergence.
Well said. And I'm going to channel Saul here. It takes 10 years for anything to really happen. And we're now, multiple cycles, and modular, it's not a new idea, but it's finally an idea that's producing, and it's one to watch. Once again, I want to thank my co-hosts for everything they do for the industry, for your friendship, partnership. I want to thank our audience for tuning in every month. Please do rate and review us. It really does help. We will continue on our upward trajectory globally, but as of today, we're still 75% here in the US, 12% in the UK, a little bit in Australia, and so on. Check the show notes for links, and I look forward to seeing everyone in February. Thank you, guys.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable, powered by CRECo.ai, your source for the latest in real estate and technology. For past episodes, sector interviews, and more great content, follow us on all social media and YouTube at CRECollaborative. You can also find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please like, subscribe, and share. It really does help. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next Real Estate Roundtable.